Hello, and welcome to the Gamer's Closet. I'm your host, Douglas Weed, and today we're going to be talking about zombies. Especially since this is October, we're discussing Halloween-themed games this month. This game was created by Twilight Creations Incorporated in 2001. It is a roll, spin, and movement game with a modular board variant. The game goes for about 60 to 90 minutes for 2 to 6 players. The game is rated for ages 15 and up due to its semi-graphic nature. Due to the fact it is a zombie game, it is a little on the macabre, gory side, especially with the cards. So I would recommend a little bit of caution for younger players that may or may not appreciate that. But let's dig into it a little further, shall we? In 2001, Zombies was created by Journeyman Press Games and a year later taken over by Twilight Creations Incorporated. This game is the winner of the 2001 Origins Award for Best Graphic Presentation of a Board Game. The game has been printed in multiple editions and has spawned a series of multiple expansions that only add to this game further. In the research of this game, I did find two interesting things. First, Apple has put out an app for the iPhone and iPad, so that way you can play the original game on both of those devices. The second is that the Gothic instrumental horror band Midnight Syndicate has actually released an official soundtrack album for this board game. The album has been loaded to YouTube, and I will include a link in the description below. I would recommend checking it out. It's actually pretty decent. This game does come with multiple pieces. It comes with 30 map tiles, 50 event cards, 100 plastic zombies, 6 plastic shotgun guys, 30 life tokens, 60 bullet tokens, 2 dice, and a set of instructions. To set up this game, randomly choose a player to be the dealer. The dealer moves the town square and the heliport cards from the map deck. Place the town square card in the center of the table with a pawn, also known as a shotgun guy, for each player on the center square. The dealer then shuffles the rest of the map deck and places the heliport at the bottom of the deck. Place the map deck aside within easy reach of all players. The dealer then shuffles the event deck and deals 3 cards to each player. Again, the event deck should be placed on the table within easy reach of all players. Each player also receives 3 life tokens and 3 bullet tokens. During your turn, you must complete the following steps. Number 1, draw a tile from the map deck and place it on the table. Number 2, combat any zombies on your current space. I will be going over combat rules in a moment. Number 3, draw back up to 3 event cards if you have less than 3. Number 4, make a movement roll, which I will be going over movement in a few moments. Number 5, move up to the number of spaces indicated by the movement roll. You must stop and combat on any space occupied by a zombie. You may continue your movement after defeating a zombie up to your total movement roll. Number 6, after moving, roll a 6-sided die. You must move that number of zombies 1 space apiece if able. And finally, number 7, at the end of the turn, you may discard 1 card from your hand. Play then proceeds clockwise around the table. When placing map tiles, there are several rules that players must follow. Tiles may be rotated in any direction, but must be placed so that all roads are connected. You may not block any road with the side of a building. It is possible to place map tiles in such a manner that no further tiles can be played. If this occurs, the player who played the last tile immediately loses the rest of their turn. Play continues until one player collects 25 zombies. When played, map cards with a named building on them immediately get the number of zombie, bullet, and life tokens indicated, Z for zombie, B for bullets, and L for life. All tokens and zombies must be placed inside the building and may not be placed on any street space. Each space may contain a zombie and a life or bullet token, but never all 3. When a map tile with an unnamed building is played, it comes into play with a number of zombies on it based on the number of road access points it has. So if it has 4 access points off the card, it would get 4 zombies, 1 on each corner. If it has 2 access points, like for the example of the elbows, it would have 2, 1 for each point leaving the card, and so on. Event cards may be played at any time. You may play only one event card during a round, that is, from the beginning of your turn to the beginning of your next turn. You may never have more than 3 event cards in your hand. A player may discard one event card at the end of their turn. Discarding signals the end of their turn, and no further actions may be taken once a card has been discarded. To move, roll a 6-sided dice. Players may choose not to use their entire movement amount and may stop at any time. Any zombies encountered while moving must be fought before movement continues. I will be going over combat in a moment, but such event cards as alternate food source may override this rule. If a player moves into a space containing a life or a bullet token and no zombie, the token is immediately added to that player's collection. Please note that players may have as many bullet tokens as they can collect, but no player may have more than 5 life tokens at one time. Zombies and players may move in and out of named buildings only and must use the door spaces indicated. No other buildings may be entered. All spaces in named buildings are used. These spaces are indicated by the lines in the building. For example, the sporting goods store has 7 interior spaces and 1 road space. At any time you begin your turn on the same space as a zombie, or you land on a space occupied by a zombie during your movement, combat ensues. Combat is resolved by rolling a 6-sided die. If you roll a 4, 5, or 6, you win the combat and the zombie is added to your collection. If you roll a 1, 2, or 3, you lose and must either forfeit a life token or spend enough bullet tokens to raise the roll enough to make it successful. For example, if you rolled a 2, you could discard a life token and roll again, or spend 2 bullet tokens to raise the total from 2 to 4. Each bullet token counts as 1 point on your dice. Combat continues until the player wins or runs out of life tokens. A player can never voluntarily leave combat. When a player runs out of life tokens, movement stops and they must move their pawn back to the center square. Additionally, they forfeit the rest of their movement, all weapons and losses half rounded up, of the zombies that they have collected. The rest of the turn continues as normal. Whenever a player dies and is forced to start again, they begin their next turn with 3 life and 3 bullet tokens. If you wish to even further up the stakes in this game, instead of half of their zombies rounded up, the player then starts over with 0 zombies in their pool. After you've completed your movement, then it's time to complete the zombie movement roll. Roll a 6-sided dice, and that is the number of zombies you are moving, each at 1 space, if possible. Each space may only have 1 zombie in it at a time, ever. Spaces containing a zombie may also contain a life or a bullet token, but if the zombie moves, the token does not. When the heliport card is turned up, the person who has the least number of zombies places it on the table. In case of a tie, the tied players randomly determine who gets to place it and or roll a dice to determine who has the higher number. A couple of rule clarifications do need to be made. When alternate food source is played, you may not kill the zombies anyways. Unless a card says otherwise, you may not use bullets or hearts to modify anything but combat rolls. The player who plays Butterfingers gets to decide which weapon or item is discarded. You may only have 1 copy of each weapon in play at a time. You cannot move or place zombies into unnamed buildings, and you cannot kill other players. There are 2 ways to win this game. First is to be the first player to reach the center square of the heliport card and escape the advancing zombie horde. Alternatively, a player can also win if they're the first one to collect 25 zombies. Well, this has been an overview of zombies. As you can see here, my box is very, very well used. So this is one of my top 10 favorite games that I consistently play over and over and over again. Whenever I have friends over, I always am happy to pull this game out. The game is, like I said before, a little on the macabre side because it is a zombie game and it pays a lot of homage to zombie movies. So if you're a little squeamish on the way zombie movies portray zombies and eating people and things of that nature, this might not be the game for you. But if you could look past that, it is a really, really good game. The modular board mechanics is great because you're never sure exactly how the game is going to end. The zombies start building up more and more and more as you keep adding tiles, so the game can get a little scary looking. You can run out of ammo really easy, you can run out of health really easy if you're not careful, so you kind of have to plan your way through it. Twilight Creations Incorporated currently have at least 15 expansions out that I'm aware of, and they keep putting new expansions out every so often. So the game keeps evolving as you go. I will be covering the expansions in a later episode on their individual merits, so please keep a lookout for that. As for the game itself, it goes online anywhere from about 10 to 30 bucks depending on what edition you have. This is the first edition here. I think they're up to like third or fourth edition now. It doesn't change much per edition, but they've kind of cleaned up some of the tiles, some of the cards. They made it a little more user-friendly. As the rules have stated, though, this is not a nice game, meaning it is very cutthroat, it is very brutal. It is a great game to play with your friends and or feed your friends to zombies. I always enjoy a good game of this, especially if I have a full table of the full 6 players. So it is I would classify this as a strategy game. It is a really, really good game. If you haven't played strategy games before, I would strongly recommend giving this one a shot, because you have to strategize where you're going to go, but then you're not quite sure if where you're going is going to turn into a dead end or not, depending on the way the town is being built or depending on which expansion you're playing. But if you haven't played zombies before, I strongly recommend playing this game. This game is on my top 10 list of favorite games that I will always play, always pull out, and I will be hanging on to forever. So like I said, if you haven't played this game, you don't know what you're missing. This is a great game. It's not really kid-friendly, but like I said, if you have teenagers or people that really love horror movies, this is the game for you. So if you haven't played it, I highly recommend playing it. Well, that's it from us here at the Gamers Closet. We'd like to thank you for checking out our video on zombies from Twilight Creations Incorporated. If there's a game in the future you would like us to review or go over, please put it in the comments below. Please hit subscribe so that way you can be the first to check out our future content. And as always, please have a great gaming day.